first inductee this evening is Carrie Cameron from the class of 1980. Carrie was a two-sport standout for the Boxers in track and field and football. The 1979 Northwest Conference champion in the 100 meters and 200 meters, Carrie set the school record in the 100 meters with a time of 10.64 seconds, a mark that still stands and continues to rank as the fifth fastest time in conference history. Carrie moved on to compete for Pacific at the 1979 NAIA Track and Field Championships, where he advanced to the semifinals in the 100 meters. On the football field, Carrie used his speed to catch opposing offenses off guard. A first-team All-Northwest Conference selection at defensive back, Carrie led the 1979 Pacific team with 4 interceptions. That same year, he set a Pacific record when he returned an interception 84 yards in a game against Willamette. At this time, we'd like to invite Lance Giles, a teammate of Carrie's from the class of 1980, to come forward and speak about Carrie's career. Lance?
Well, thank you very much. Before I speak, I'm going to have the reason that we're here, Carrie and I, the Hall of Famer, Coach Jim Weber, would like to say a word or two. And since he's the reason that Carrie's here and the reason I'm here, I thought I'd give him a little bit of my time to say a couple of words. So could you give Hall of Famer, Coach Jim Weber,
Well-behaved crowd. Well, I begrudgingly said that I would say a few things because I'm mostly very bashful and restrained in front of an audience, but Karry Cameron, what a guy, I tell you. He's a, if you get an opportunity to meet Carrie tonight and shake his hand and have a little something to do with him, you'll be a better person. You'll come away with it. Carrie, when I was recruiting him out of Oxnard, California, he and his friend Lonnie, who unfortunately passed away this summer, I was after him pretty hard, and Carrie asked me if he could major in black studies at Pacific, and I said, "Oh, yeah, I'm pretty sure we got that program." I don't know. Do you even remember that, Carrie? I said, "Well, when you can run 10.37 in hand timed in 100 meters, we'll come up with a program for you. You're okay. You're right where you need to be." So he was going to play. He and Lonnie were going to play football too, and they were late several days getting up here, and so I called his mom and I said, "Are they on their way?" And she said, "Yeah, they are." And I said, "Well, Pacific?" And she said, "Well, I don't know, some school north of here, and they're going to drive until they use up all their gas money, and then they're going to go to school where they end up." Thank goodness they had a hybrid. I didn't want them stopping at Humboldt on the way up here. You know, all of the athletic part of it is all true. I mean, when he was lightning in a bottle in the sprints, and when he hit them in football, they stayed hit. There's a word that wrestlers use called a souffle, and he souffled a few, and that's when they go over straight backwards and their shoulder blades hit the ground first. That's a pretty good tackle. He was a stinger, no doubt about it. And I know Lance is prepared to talk a little bit more about his athletic achievements. I just wanted to mention that one of the things that Carrie's the most proud of is the work that he's done at Grant High School in Northeast Portland. 7 out of the last 10 years, his athletes have been in the state championship for their GPA. He is constantly I talked to the principal and or the athletic director, and she said that no coach in the history of Grant High School has had the positive impact on their students than Karry. And you know, the measure of a man is not only what he accomplishes, but how well he can pass it on. And Karry is just tremendously regarded in his community and his school. He's taken kids in that didn't have a place to sleep. He bought furniture for somebody that apparently had a fire or something. One of his student athletes is currently the sergeant at arms in the White House. And, you know, he's retiring this year. And, you know, I love the guy. And I'd love to have a son just like him. And this is great. I mean, that all said, Lance introduced me. Now I'm going to introduce Lance. And who knows where this thing might end. So, anyway, Lance Giles, expect a lot from him, folks. He's a motivational speaker, so hold him to a higher standard than you have me.
That's no pressure. So I'm going to make this a little bit short because we have a lot to do up here. The thing that I really want to talk about with Karry is, you know, athletic achievements are why we're here, so I'll finish with a story about that. But, you know, the impact he made on the student body, let's say. So let's tie it into football, for instance. When we're going to a game, when we know that Karry got in the game, we hear a two-word thing. So what that meant was either somebody was unconscious or he got beat deep for a touchdown. Because Karry's kind of the kind of guy that wanted to be a missile. He wanted to come up and hit you so bad that somebody would go to the hospital first, but then the next play they were going to beat him. So we just listen for that sound. We know he's in the game. The guy's speed is unbelievable. But what really is unbelievable, and this is what I really want to talk about, is the environment that he and I were in. To do what he did is, you people have no idea. So what you're doing now, what you have, the facilities and the stadium, and even this is beautiful. I mean, the first time I came back to the campus, I almost wanted to cry, honestly. The environment that Karry thrived in and did these things in was an environment where they had to actually almost go to court for him to be able to go to nationals. There were teachers that wouldn't let him out of class. They were going to flunk him. This is an environment that got rid of football. As you know, we didn't have football for 30 years. So in that environment, for him to do what he did, coming up here from Oxnard, California, which is quite different than this, you know, let's face it. And he made the most of it. No, this is the other thing, which, I mean, a lot of people in here don't know. Karry was raising a child at 19 years old. She's sitting right there. So while the rest of us are worried about what club we're going to, math class, English class, track practice, football practice, he's raising a kid. He had to be an adult quick, early. And he doesn't talk about it. He didn't act like it was any more of a burden. He just did it. Now, in my opinion, the character that shows, and you know, I don't care about this. I prepared a lot for that speech, but I'm just going to speak from the heart now because I want to cut it a little bit short. But That is what makes a Hall of Famer. Character, the heart, the will to do the right thing regardless. And I can't, like, to me, that example of raising a child while you're a kid, while you're a student yourself, that pretty much says it all. Now, I'm going to close with a story that does have to do with athletics, though. This is maybe leads up to the greatest accomplishment that maybe has ever happened to Pacific. Carrie's first race leading up to the end of his season. So the first time I saw Carrie run, we all got here at the same time, 1979. He ran against, his first race was against a guy named Greg Griffin, who was the 4-year conference and district champion. This guy hadn't lost a race in 4 years. So Carrie's first race is against this kid, right? He beats him. They run a school record. He beats him by an inch, but he beats him. And so as he was walking back up the track, when he got done, he walks kind of like this anyway. He's got kind of his chest kind of stuck out. And one of my buddies said, "Damn, man, look at this, like an Indian chief." So that's how he got his nickname. Look at that, Coach Chief, man, look at his head. So his nickname is Chief. So when you hear me talk to him, you might hear me say, "Hey, Chief, what's up?" So now, skip forward a whole year. He hasn't lost. Greg Griffin hasn't lost since he lost to Carrie. Now we're at the district finals again. I've been waiting all year for this. Nobody can wait to see this race. And Greg is running fast now, and Carrie's running fast. So this is almost like bird magic. This is no joke. TV cameras, NBC, ABC. I'm not exaggerating. I mean, imagine Pacific track meet. The whole world is coming to see this race, right? I got my seat reserved for 2 weeks ahead of time. I had guys, friends of mine, when I was done with my race, I'm like, I want to sit right there on the finish line. So I'm looking up to see Chief beat this guy again. The crowd is chanting, "Chief, Chief, Chief, Chief." And they're chanting, "Griff, Griff, Griff." It's all come down to this. 5 minutes before the race, somebody comes up from the track, and I got my spot in my favorite spot, comes up to me and says, "Hey, man, Chief wants you to come down to the track." And I'm thinking, whoa, man, Chief wants me to give him, what's the last minute advice? What the hell does he want from me? So I run down there. I'm down there, and the starting guys getting ready. They're getting ready to run the race. All the guys are down there. Karry says, "Giles, man, I need you to hold my blocks." As you know, if you have ever run track or watched track, an explosive guy like this, the blocks used to slip. So he wants me to stand behind the blocks so that they won't slip. So now I'm going to show you how I saw the greatest race in Pacific history. You're me. I'm Karry. That's how I saw that race. Appreciate that. I've never told him that story, but I never will forget that, what he did to me that day. I'm going to close with this. Like Coach Weber said, to meet him is to love him and respect him. The one technical thing I do want to say, and I'd be remiss if I don't say it, is the school record that he actually ran is 10:44, not 10:64. Now, if you're not a track person, you might not know, but if the race was going that way, here's 10:64, that's 10:44. So the actual record, and it's an automatic time, and it was done in the Nationals, is 10:44. I think that now that he's in the Hall of Fame, we should just fix it. We might not be able to Google it and find it, but he was there. We all know it. It's 10:44. On that note, I'd like to introduce my best friend and Hall of Famer, Karry Cameron.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you, Jim Weber. Thank you, Lance Giles. It's an honor to be here tonight. I would like to say congratulations to Jill, to my good friend Tom, and that awesome basketball team. Congratulations, guys. It's an honor to be here with you. I appreciate it. Now that Jim and Lance have ruined my reputation, let me give you a quick history of who I am. Preparing for the ceremony has made me to reflect on things that I've never thought about before. I have to start with my childhood neighbor and best friend. Jim mentioned his name, Lonnie Winbush. Lonnie Winbush and I, we grew up in the same neighborhood from 5 years old on, went to high school together, junior college together. Jim Weber recruits Lonnie Winbush after Ventura College to come here to Pacific. I'm going to go to Humboldt, I'm going to go to Chico, one of those two. And Lonnie says, we've been together too long. Let's go to Oregon. Let's do something different. Get out of California. Join me. And he convinced me, sight unseen, to come here to Oregon to do our last 2 years of college together. Let's finish this thing together. And sure enough, we came here to Pacific University. Jim had promised us that the facilities here, you wouldn't believe the facilities we have. You just won't believe it. I did not believe the facilities when I got here. Went out to football practice. We're a week late getting here, and they gave us pads and says, come on out and join the team. And we walked through a cow pasture. We walked to a cannery. Bees are every place, and we're practicing football, swatting the bees. For the track meets, we had to jog to the old Forest Grove High School. For practice, we didn't even have a track to practice on. Jim, you're absolutely right. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. We both ended up here in Pacific, sight unseen, smack dab in the middle of culture shock. Where are all the black folks? None. Where are all the Hispanics? None. Why can't I find any soul music on this radio station? None. Is that guy really wearing a cowboy hat, a cowboy shirt, and cowboy shoes and chewing tobacco? Yes. Is he a student or is he the Marlboro man? I'm talking about our fullback at that time, Rob Dimmick. And what's up with the house parties here? Not a single slow dance song, but plenty of beer. And what's up with these odd-looking Mexicans around here on campus? They don't even speak English. I mean, Spanish. In fact, what the hell language are they speaking? I soon learned they were Hawaiians. Someone says to me, yeah, they're Hawaiians, and we even call some of them mini hoonies. And I said, in what language? I'm going to see a little brother, brother. Pure culture shock. Wanted to turn around and head back, but that guy made me realize, man, you only got a year and a half to go to get your degree. You're going to lose credits if you go. Great sale job, Jim. Great sale job. I said I had to say something a little bit about myself. You know who I am. That same friend, Lonnie, who I said passed away. He's the one who talked me into coming here. Together, we won the California State Championship as a relay team. He was my anchor man on that relay team. Both he and I, and when I'm talking about both of us, because my life is his life, we both grew up in a California ghetto, Mexican black ghetto. There was not a single white person in my neighborhood anywhere to be found. And very few white people were brave enough to venture into our neighborhood. In fact, recently, I still own a home in the same neighborhood. My wife, who is white, were in this neighborhood, and the police circled around twice when they saw her and stopped and asked, "Are you okay, lady? Are you okay, lady?" No, the truth. Didn't ask me if I was okay, but grew up in a poor situation. My sister, who was sitting right over here, was born in a small trailer in the backyard of our ghetto home. We raised chickens and for the eggs and for the meat. We were poor, but none of us children knew it. I had a dozen cousins living within blocks of us, and we protected each other, and that's how we made it through this neighborhood. I was part of the civil rights movement, meaning I was part of the integration movement. So out of my Mexican and black ghetto, they shipped me and many other neighborhood kids off to the all-white schools. For many, many months, there were plenty of irate parents waiting for us little kids to get off the bus. It eventually disappeared, but it's still a strong memory of having to go through that situation. And I say that because it was that part, being a part of integration, which enabled me to handle this culture shock right here at Pacific University. Without that, there's no way I could have made it through this situation here. And many of my fellow people of color who came here, they were only here for a semester, and they're gone. It's a tough, tough sale here at Pacific University. It takes skill for me to make the Hall of Fame, but it also took a lot of people working with me, befriending me, coaching me, nurturing me, counseling me, supporting me, and guiding me to this moment right here. I would like to thank a lot of my football Pacific teammates. A lot of you know Jeff Grundon. A lot of you know that name. Jeff Grundon, Calvin Miles, I could go on. Willie the Toe Rousseau, all my teammates that, assisted me in my development to become the football player that I was. I'd like to acknowledge a lot of my track teammates, Randy Jones, John Accord, Dan Grubb, Disco Mark Cleary, and the late Greg Harris. Lindsey Struthers and others, they were my workout partners that pushed me in practice, working hard, and keeping that competitive drive. I see one of my buddies up here, Dennis Carline. He has no idea I was going to say something about him, but people like Dennis Carline standing right over there on that sideline right there. Dennis Carline is in the same situation that I was in growing up in Southern California. He's a great athlete. He didn't know it. I was a great athlete. I didn't know it. Because in California, every corner has a dope head or a drug addict or the dropout who's twice as fast, can jump twice as high, and shoot the ball 10 times better than any of us on every corner in California. So Carline and I, we don't know that we're great athletes. There's an athlete like us on every corner. Dennis Carline, same boat. And I have to say something about him real quickly. Didn't know he was a great athlete. Got cut from the basketball team his senior year as he tried out for the team. Somebody was injured. They brought him back on the team, led the team in points, rebounds, and assists. Didn't know he was a great athlete. And after we graduated, I'm the school record holder. Dennis Carline kicked the snot out of me in 100 meters several times. And I'm the school record holder. There's an athlete on every corner in California. I'd need to give special thanks one more time to Jim Weber. Thank you, Jim Weber. You turned out to be more than just a coach. You truly care about me and everyone that you work with. And without you, Jim, assisting me to understand life goals and view the big picture of life, I would have turned around and run away. And I really appreciate, my heart goes out to you, Jim Weber. I love you. I would real quickly now like to introduce my beautiful wife and best friend who has supported me 100% of the time in all my endeavors, still allows me to go work out all the time. I still can make Pacific University relay team today. My beautiful wife, Katie, standing right here. One of my two sons, Eric is standing right here, who was the most valuable player in the Shrine Bowl. 5 touchdowns. My daughter, Erin, who was that rugrat running around here. 3 or 4 people have asked about you tonight, Erin. 3 or 4 people. My lovely daughter, Erin, and her daughter, Zeta. She's being a fantastic mom to my one and only grandchild, Zeta. And my second daughter, Bradley, right here, who graduated from Western Oregon and earned 3 medals in that state championships in track and field. Earned 3 medals. Went to the state meet 3 times. My brother Danny, who cannot be here tonight, lives in Shreveport, but 3 years older than me, and one of the main reasons that I turned out to be the athlete that I am, he kicked the snot out of me every day and made me tough, no joke. My sister Lisa in Dallas, 13 years my younger, I learned how to be a parent, changing diapers, raising that young girl when I'm 15, 16, 17. My sister, Pat Johnson from Las Vegas. She went through hell here. She's very ill, but she says, I'm going to be there. And that's the toughness that goes through my family. Nothing's going to stop me from being here. And my lifelong friend and always been a part of the family, I call her my sister, Diane Coleman from Oxnard, California. I would be remiss in not saying something about my dad. My dad, first generation out of slavery. My dad, all of his brothers and sisters were born in the 1800s. If he were alive today, he'd be 100 years old himself. My dad had no education. My dad was a junk man in the neighborhood, and I'd go out with him picking up car motors and refrigerators. My dad built the house that I grew up in with his own hands. My dad put the electricity in the house. Uneducated man. My dad was a field worker, working in the fields all of his life. My dad, close friends with Cesar Chavez. Cesar Chavez would come to my front yard. My dad was bilingual, speaking Spanish with several other non-English speaking gentlemen. And I have to say that my dad was part of the civil rights movement and getting equal pay for field workers. Right there with Cesar Chavez sitting in my front yard speaking Spanish. The last thing about my dad could care less about sports. He came to one of my wrestling matches in high school. He came to one of my track meets in high school. He could care less about sports. But to tell him that I have a job and I have an education, that's what made my dad excited. That's what got to my dad. I'll go see that. Yeah, I got a job. I'll go watch that. Yeah. And lastly, my mom. Same situation. My mom grew up picking cotton in Louisiana. Wasn't allowed to go to school because there's still cotton in the fields. You can't go to school. There's cotton to be picked. 4th grade education. Toughest woman I've ever in the world. When I was a young child, she contracted tuberculosis, took out one of her lungs in the early 60s. Said she's going to die. I'm just a little kid in the early 60s. She's going to die. Had to go visit. She was in isolation in the hospital. As a kid, me and my brothers and sisters, only mom we knew was looking through a window pane at mom. She survived. In 1985, they said, rush home, your mom's going to die. 1998, rush home. Your mom's going to die. My mom lived until 2002. And she would always say, I'm going to live a long time if I don't die soon. And her one other saying is, you ask her, how do I feel? She was always in pain, all of her life, pain. Ask her how she feels. I'm like James Brown. I feel good. Never complained a day of her life. And that's where I get that same toughness. Life is too easy to complain. Way too easy to complain. I'm going to end now with controversy. This has gone too well not to put some controversy into this. I mentioned one of my teammates, Greg Harris, who passed away. Pacific University is 149 years old or whatever it is. Greg Harris is the greatest javelin thrower in the history of Pacific University, my teammate. They took his name off the record board because they changed the size of the javelin. I would prefer my teammate's name to be up there over mine. He is the greatest javelin thrower of all time. My football teammate, my track teammate. So I'm going to ask Pacific University, make room for Greg Harris, or leave me off. I could care less. Leave me off. Controversy number 2. I'll never have this opportunity again, so I'm sorry if I'm dragging on. But controversy number 2. As my buddy Lance just said, that time of 10:64 is incorrect. I ran 10:44, automatic time at the National Track Championships. And even if you don't even count that one, I ran hand time of 10:37, which converts to, it's still a faster time than what they have listed. I hope that's corrected. And the last one. Last controversy. Having coached the invisible sport of wrestling in Portland, Oregon, Grant High School for 30 years, I can say, this is fact, that Mike Clock has the most decorated sports teams in the history of Pacific University. The most decorated sports teams in the history of Pacific University. With that, congratulations to my friends that I've met tonight. I love you. Congratulations to Tom. Congratulations to Jill. And thank all of you. I appreciate this moment.
At this time, we ask you to all please remain standing and give one more applause because it is our honor to induct Carrie Cameron into the Pacific University Athletic Hall of Fame in the category of athlete.